Welcome back, and today we are going to be taking a look at the J5N1, and I want to give you a massive thanks towards Sebastian, who donated me money to fly out this vehicle and give you guys a review. I have been letting this guy lay dormant for a while, as I never thought that the J5N1 was all that special. There are a lot of people that claim that this thing is one of the best airspawn or interceptor fighters in the entire game, but I have to disagree. While it's not terrible, it definitely has its perks. The guns are great, the maneuverability for twin engine is pretty acceptable, and of course the climb rate together with the airspawn mean that you can have a lot of early game impact. But we must not forget that at 6.0 we have the Key 83, which is simply better, and at 5.7 you have some absolute powerhouses like the Yak-3U, the VK107, the LF Mark 9, the FU-4B, and there's a plethora of insanely good planes at 5.7, to not even speak about when you go up slightly. At 6.0 we have insane planes like the Hornet, which will absolutely ruin your day. We have the P-38K at a lower BR than you, and although you might not see them that often, they are incredibly painful to run into. They have an airspan too, they outclimb you completely, and it's just an absolute monster. The J5N1 with its airspawn mostly means that at early game and its climb rate you will be able to contest for early game presence. Now the issue is when you run into a TAR-152H for example, or perhaps again a Hornet, you might be locked out of the game. And I try to kill these guys in the head-on early on as quickly as I can, as often as I can, as I want to establish dominance at the very start of the game. It's very hard to claw back in this thing once people start getting above you. Say you get up tiered and you run into a P-51H, which now has infinite amount of web, you might start struggling a little bit, and more of this in a little while. When everything goes right and you're able to contest high altitude and you're now above people, this thing is pretty damn solid. The retention is extremely good, and it's also part because it doesn't really turn all that well. But even when you try to land, this plane does not want to slow down, and that means that you need to take very wide loops in order to have enough separation to actually pull into the shots. You can tell here I'm struggling very hard to get the guns onto that LA9, even though he's essentially stalled out. Luckily, if you manage to get your guns onto enemies for a split second, it mostly turns them into vaporized atoms. Now here's another game, and it might look like deja vu because we have Dr. Bombay 88 in a Spitfire on the right, a TAR-152H directly head on, LA9 on the deck, and yes, it's the game after, and basically everything is exactly the same. And we are gonna play it exactly the same, although this time it's going to play out slightly differently. We are gonna return the 152H to the hangar, and then instead of going for the low LA9s, we are gonna engage the Spitfires. Last game the Spitfires actually got a little bit of altitude and they became relatively annoying. They really didn't get anything done, but they prolonged the match to a certain degree, to the point where I think I'm just gonna go for him right now because I don't want to deal with that again. I see the yellow nose on the green skin, that's gonna be a Mark 22, and the Mark 24 in front of us is also going to give us a lot of problems, because as the packet loss kicks in, the Mark 24 starts to do a handbrake turn and basically just slides all over the place. Relatively hard to hit, but we have enough energy for now to disengage and try to get a little bit of separation. The Mark 24 is going to absolutely ruin my day, but for now I have enough energy to get away from him. We try to go as steep as possible, as if I go shallow enough, he has enough time to actually catch up. So I just want to go straight up here, but I don't want to stall myself out just yet. I do want to use my energy advantage to actually get a little bit of separation. And once he starts getting close enough, I'm going to start dropping the flaps, and we are going to start turning. We have two Heinkel 177s coming in, and if they gun me down, so be it. But for now, I'm able to drop back down on the Spitfire as I kind of dragged him into a J7W. He flies perfectly straight, we set him on fire, and he also goes back to the hangar. We now have the Spitfire on the deck, the Mark 22, that is being engaged by someone else. He is not going to be an issue. So while we're up here, we are going to collect ourselves a little free kill called the Heinkel 177. We draw a bit of a line, we shoot a few rounds, and we just take off his entire wing. The other two Heinkel 177s aren't really a priority right now, and we will be killing them very late in the game when they are both trying the airfield cam, but for now we are going to drop altitude and try to shoot down the Spitfire. And we are still suffering from some pretty severe packet loss. I'm not entirely sure why this always happens on this map, But the Spitfire knows we are coming. He is flying straight, and the second I start shooting, he starts going evasive. You can tell that he's kind of teleporting around. It's somewhat okay. Makes a very flat turn, gives us a very nice broadside. And without even giving us a hit, he goes into a flat spin and then suddenly explodes. Now that is the filler content. Let's take a look at the real game that has basically every plane that you never want to run into when you play this thing. We have multiple Yak 3Us. We have the Russian LF Mark 9. We have some Yak 3Ps, I think. We also have some P-51Hs and even a P-38K in the mix. P-47M on the left, not really the biggest threat, but definitely something that I don't want to deal with. And I notice the Spitfire going for the Shackleton, meaning that I'm gonna try to take him out right here. I do not want to deal with that guy, but luckily the Shackleton shackles his wings off. So we are going to disengage and go for someone else while conserving our altitude. This is a high altitude map, and planes like the Yak 3U might be slightly worse on this map. Planes like the P-38K and the P-51H are gonna be even more of a nuisance, but it doesn't really matter as these planes rock your shit regardless of what map you're on. The LA-9s are pretty easy to deal with, but the Yak 3U is definitely going to be priority, as even a troglodyte can play these things. I just want to get this guy out of the match, and I don't care if I have to use all my ammo. This guy is dying right here and now. Now he's going pretty slow, or at least in terms of IS, he is not going to be super maneuverable, but neither am I, so I'm just going to hold the trigger down and make sure that he goes back to the hangar, and that's exactly what he does. P-47M coming in from the right. I do want to turn in, and I do want to be careful of the 50 cals, but I line it up, I try to pull lead, and the second I do so, he kind of pulls out of the way, and at this kind of altitude, the plane just is not responsive enough to actually get the guns on target. He goes head on with a Spitfire, not really a massive issue. For now, I should be able to slowly start catching him, but in the long run, the P-47M might just be able to dive away. So I'm going to try to get some very long-range pot shots in with a 30mm, and you can tell that it's close, but it's not quite a cigar. Now, I'm not going to actually chase this guy down to the deck. I know that the P-38K and the P-51H went back to the runway, and they are on an elevated position, so they might not actually take that long to get back onto my altitude. So I do want to be somewhat conservative, but I also want to make sure that we win the numbers game, because I am not going to be winning a 1v1 or even a 1v2 against those things. So for now, I'm actually just trying to keep altitude, trying to see who I can pick off. You want to be very smart with your targets here. The Yak 9 UT is flying perfectly straight. We just disassemble his plane into spare parts. And then I notice that the entire enemy team is on the deck. A very juicy target and potentially a lot of free kills. But my team is looking pretty decent. We have the Seafarer on the deck, sure, who's probably about to die. But we have our entire enemy team on the deck. And our team actually has a decent amount of altitude and speed on them. I'm gonna wait here. They don't really need me just yet, and my team is looking pretty okay. I'm expecting 2 Yak 9s to die within the next 20 seconds. There goes one. There goes the second one. The LA-9 is out of position. The Yak 3U is about to be flooded by 3 friendly players. And then the Yak 3, which is probably a VK-107, also is being ran down by the Shackleton. It's looking pretty decent. The LA-9 and the P-51 on the deck are not really in position either, so I'm expecting my team to clump up again and start engaging them and win that engagement as well. A little bit of trust I need to have here in my team, which is something I don't normally do, but I'm going to need it as the P-38K and the P-51H that are about to appear on the horizon need to be dealt with. And if those two guys have altitude on my team, if they work somewhat together, and they look to be working together somewhat at the start of the game, we're gonna have a massive issue. Those guys being above you can easily win a 1v6, even if all of us play it right, because the planes they are in are simply that strong. I noticed the P-51H, he gets within range, but I also notice a dot on the horizon, which is probably going to be the P-38K. And for now, I actually have the energy and the position to somewhat engage him. So I'm going to let the P-51H go, despite it being the higher priority target, and I'm gonna go for the P-38. The P-38 right now is climbing at its optimal speed. He's going pretty steep. He's not going particularly quick, meaning that he's gonna have a pretty hard time dodging this head-on if I just spray a fat line over him. And that's exactly what we do. We bust all over his cockpit and put him straight into the parts bin. The issue is the P-51H now turned around. Now luckily it's only one now and I don't have to deal with a P-38K at the same time. But the P-51H is a massive issue. He's going to be able to really diminish my entire energy advantage in a very short while. You can tell that he's hanging with me extremely easily despite the maneuvers he just did. If he had just sent it up to me at the very start there, I wouldn't really have been able to go head on with the P-38K. But for now, because of this position, I'm able to actually go up, make him stall out, and I'm now able to drop back down on top of him. Now the issue is that he is going to play it smart and he's not actually going to send it straight up. And he's gonna conserve his energy to mount a counterattack, which is an issue because I am not gonna be able to hang with this guy. We're gonna do it anyway, as I need this guy to go down to the deck, and I saw that I have some teammates coming in, so all I really need to do is just make this fight last as long as possible, or just outright kill him, which is of course going to be the main goal. He starts diving, he mounts a counterattack or counter defense, I guess, and I don't instantly go for him. I want to wait for him to pass under me, and then I pull in. This solidifies my position on the 6 and it's going to make it much more time consuming for him to actually kill me. We go up with him and we are going to cut throttle to try to pull into the shot here. And you can tell that I barely make it and I'm just not able to get the guns on target. And now I went all in for the shot. I bled all of my energy. And now the P-51H is going to claw this advantage back extremely quickly. So I'm just going to try to get above him. I'm gonna cut throttle, I'm gonna drop my landing flaps, and I'm gonna try to stay behind him. I'm not really trying to kill him anymore, as the likelihood of him overshooting are pretty slim. I don't want to lose too much energy. As you've seen in my flap video, if you go too slow, you actually start losing turning performance again. And the P-51H just turns so much better that all I'm trying to do here is try to get as close to him as possible and potentially make him overshoot. But he's also dropping flaps. He is also dropping throttle. This guy is not gonna be overshooting and he's about to get shots on me. Let the Spitfire know that I actually do need help and I'm trying to get away from this guy now. I am not gonna get away from this guy. If I was alone, I would have been 100% dead. But luckily this is a team game, so I start singing I need a hero and wait for my savior to come from the heavens and peel this guy off my ass. And that's exactly what he does. P-51H breaks off, gives me just that bit of separation, and then he starts engaging the Spitfire. That is good. Unfortunately, the P-51H also has two saviors in the form of two LA-9s. The first one goes head on, we draw a fat little line over his cockpit, we narrowly dodge his rounds, and down he goes. I needed to take that, because if he gets past me, that Spitfire is also dead. Now, I'm going to slightly climb away here for a little bit, because if I turn around right now, we're both going to die. And the Spitfire looked to be pulling its own weight. He looked to be engaging the right targets. He was doing the right thing. So I'm trusting this guy to survive for a couple of turns because he had so much energy coming in for me to reposition and get above him. Now I'm in a very good position to assist the Spitfire. And now we can start running trains on them. The Spitfire is gonna be able to survive this for a little while. He already reversed the LA-9 and while the P-51 is on the 6 of the Spitfire, if the Spitfire does the right thing here and turns away from me to give me the 6 of the P-51, I might be able to kill him. Unfortunately, he notices and he breaks off. But now, the Spitfire is able to disengage for a little bit while actually getting the LA-9 on his 6. I try to pitch up over the nose of both of them, try to bait him into a vertical. They don't want to take it. They both really want to try and kill my friendly here so that it becomes a 2v1. And I'm trying to do the exact same thing. And while the P-51 is definitely my prime target, as it's the much better plane, if the opportunity arises where the LA-9 becomes the juicier target or becomes a bigger threat, because right now he's on the 6 of the Spitfire, I will switch targets and send him straight back to the hangar. He goes down, severe damage, he goes into the ground and we disengage. We are going plenty fast. The Spitfire is still completely okay, although it does have some water leaks. I'm gonna be disengaging. I don't need to take the fight to him right now. They are going head on, they both dodge each other. And then last second they pull into each other and actually kind of trade, but the Spitfire seems to be getting the longer end of the stick as the P-51 is going to burn up. And that is how you play this game strategically. The plane itself has its drawbacks. It's not the best, But it's definitely flyable, it's definitely manageable, especially with the current matchmaker. It's not all battle planes that you'll find in the lobby, and with the amount of inexperienced prop pilots, it actually becomes a pretty formidable plane. And I do actually suggest people to play it, as it teaches you good things about air combat. It's not very straightforward. You need to actually use your brain a little bit, and it has its drawbacks, and you need to be aware of it. Now here you can tell that I met a Focke-Wulf 190 F8. He also has an air spawn and he's slightly below me, but I'm going to be going much quicker. So instead of instantly turning in, I'm going to get a little bit of separation as I outclimb him, get more energy over him, and once we start going to that about 300-ish to 250 kilometers an hour IAS mark, I'm going to just pull in. I'm slightly above him now, and if he wants to complete the turn, he can do so, but he's already almost stalling. But keep in mind, he also has to pull his nose up. And doing both of those things at the same time, at this altitude, at this kind of airspeed, is simply not going to happen. So even though I'm only slightly above him, I know I can simply pull straight in with the energy and the engines that I have. It's no Ki 83, but the F8 also is no Ta 152H. So we kind of just pull up over his nose. He has no chance of ever getting shots on me right there. So we just kind of go up, sit directly above and behind him, and fall straight back down. And here comes the issue with the J5N1. It's enemies that don't actually comply with my plan. And this is the main weakness. You're not really able to kill these guys if they don't want to be killed. Now I almost managed to connect my shots there, but I completely underlead, unfortunately. So we break off, try to wrap in behind him, but he's going down. He's keeping his speed, he's being evasive, and even though I line up the shots properly, I still underlead, meaning that the shells just kind of fall behind him. And after our little tango, he notices that he's not going to be winning that engagement, and he simply flies to the middle of the map and then dives into 4 yak trees to dogfight them all at the same time. Now I'd rather just have him dogfight me and die for the clip, but unfortunately with the J5N1, you can't win them all. That's all I have for you today. Thank you very much to Sebastian for donating for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.